every Sunday at 5 p.m. Studio B for Strange Universe. For Strange Universe.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Are you a fan of rock and roll? Does it get your feet tapping and your hands clapping? Then be sure to check out Crypt Rick's Rock and Roll Hour every Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern and Standard Time on Studio B right here at RevolutionRadio.com, where we get down and talk all things rock.
This is the People's War. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, all the apparatus. Stop. We'll run it. We'll own it. Unless the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio!
You're tuned to something different. No scripts, no limits, just pure, unfiltered thought. This is Free Association. Your host, Dennis Barker, brings you the ideas, the questions, and the tangents that matter. Joined by the sharp wit and insight of Karen and the one, the only Dr. Lenny Time. 3 minds, 2 hours, 0 guardrails. Free Association, because the best conversations never stay on topic. Join Dennis, Karen, and Dr. Lenny Time Thursdays at noon Eastern, Studio B, here on Revolution Radio.
Expands consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel. Travel without movement.
Greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future, and in here the results are always positive. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us as we endeavor to treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. This is the voice of the revolution. And we are streaming to you live with our great friends at Revolution Radio on freedomslips.org, the #1 listener-supported network in the entire country. We are also streaming to you live on several video platforms all at the same time. On Rumble and YouTube and Twitch, X, DLive, Foxhole, and Truth Refugee. And you can pick up all the archives there for free. We don't charge anything. There's no paywalls, no nothing. So all the information is yours unclassified. And the chat room has already picked up on it. The title of tonight's program is Dumb College Kids, and it's spelled D-U-M-E. I'm so glad that you picked up on that. That is very good. Very good. That gives you an idea of what we're dealing with college graduates today. It's pretty crazy. Bosque Burning was again the first one in tonight. Monty is here tonight. And let's see, Deborah Pollard is here. Tatanka Dave, way out there in the Catskills in New York. JJ Nevada. Let's see. Brad Marcus is here. Yes, we will see you in Mount Shasta on the 15th. I'm flying in on the 15th, speaking on the 16th or 17th or whatever, and leaving on the 21st. So I'll be there the entire week. Those of you that want to make your way out there to Mount Shasta and come to this amazing event that Jonathan Shalimar is putting on, it's probably going to be the spiritual event of the year. A lot of people try, but they're not going to have the speaker list that we have there. My friend Sasha Stone is going to be there. I'm going to be there. I promise you, you'll be totally amazed. Fab Letty is here. Distant Sight, Tupac Sugar, Flippy 2. Who else is here? Oh, Truth Refugee and Fifth Element's Being is here. Oh, yeah. Cool. And Karen Draper. So there is a lot going on in the news. I mean, I could go anywhere tonight, but I want to start out with the America First stuff, and not what you think, because the news media, the mainstream, the fake stream news is going to concentrate on one or two things that President Trump and his administration is doing. But you have to keep in mind that this is Trump's 10th year in office. Okay, he has put together a plan that is not hasty. While he was in exile for 4 years, he and his crew put together the executive orders, the economic plan. The effort was going to be epic because of the mess that the Biden administration left us in. You can't even call it the Biden administration, because it really wasn't. It was something the Global Syndicate had put together to try to recoup what they had lost when Hillary Clinton did not win her election in 2016. They had a plan too. The plan wasn't this. The forecasts, the financial forecasts of what's going on right now is more resilient to the supply chain disruptions and revived inflationary pressures that are seen as holding back growth around the world, not so much in the United States. U.S. energy production, investments in technology, there are also investments in manufacturing. There's a huge Japanese truck manufacturing plant that was going to be built in Mexico. It's now going to be built in San Antonio. It's going to employ Americans. It's going to use U.S. steel. It's going to use U.S. tires. it's going to be amazing. It's not just the 1,100 jobs that plant will employ. It's also all the support jobs, all the part suppliers, all the truckers, all the people that handle paint and wire and everything that goes into that truck is also creating American jobs. GE is expanding their operations in 3 different states. Plus, we have chip manufacturers that are coming here. This kind of growth hasn't even shown up on the curve yet. Why? Because President Trump is not doing one thing. He's not doing 10 things. He's doing 10,000 things. One of the most exciting things that I've heard about in my lifetime is the Trump accounts. Each one of my grandkids has a Trump account that's been seeded with $1,000 from the Trump administration. Each grandparent, each friend can put up to $5,000 a year in this account, tax-free. You know, that totally changes in a single generation the entire blue-collar curve. Now, the other thing that's happening is how many people went to college out there and got Pell Grants? Gosh, I got them. And they were not a whole lot of money, maybe $1,200 to $2,500 a semester, which for an inexpensive college like Tennessee Tech goes a long way. But for an expensive college, it's nothing. It doesn't even pay for books hardly. But guess what? Guess what Trump is doing? He's allowing Pell Grants to be used in vocational schools. Now, a good vocational school, one that'll teach you electricity or electrician or plumbing or computer skills or construction, basic architecture, 25 grand. 25 grand is the total tuition. You're talking about taking somebody with basic skills out of high school, or maybe still in high school, a junior in high school, going to trade school, and 2 to 3 years later coming out with a skill as a certified welder or an electrician or a plumber or a truck driver. You know, these are value-added jobs that create income, you know, $50, $80, $120,000 a year. This changes the curve for the blue collar. You have to understand what Britain and what the Obama administration fundamentally changed America into. They deindustrialized America. What they did is they took all those jobs, all those factories, 20,000 factories, and moved them to foreign countries. You know, I live here in North Carolina. This used to be the furniture capital of the entire country. Absolutely. Without doubt. And what happened was that furniture industry left and went to China. Of course, the furniture turned into crap. I mean, absolute crap. The lumber was crap. The workmanship was crap. It was lousy. So then it left there and went to Vietnam, and the quality came way up, way up. You can really get nice furniture out of Vietnam. The wood is better. The workmanship's better. It's just a better product. But the point is, the United States got deindustrialized. All those jobs, all that skill that was used in this country to make the finest furniture in the world was lost, and it never came back. North Carolina, particularly, North Carolina suffered through the loss of the textile industry, the furniture industry. They're trying to make it back with tech, trying to make it back with insurance and banking, but it isn't even close. Within a 30-minute drive of me, which is not much in this country, within a 30-minute drive of me is 10 million square feet of empty factory floor. It has never had anything. Some of it doesn't even have the concrete poured in it. It's just dirt floors in brand new buildings. And they've been building and building and building like crazy, commercial real estate out the ass all over the state. And they're doing nothing. Some are being used for Amazon warehouses. That's crazy. I mean, you could use anything for an Amazon warehouse. Why use this premium manufacturing space for a warehouse? Well, the International Monetary Fund projects that the U.S. economy is going to grow a whopping 2.3% this year. And they're expecting 2.2%, but I think it's going to be more like 2.4% next year when these factories start coming online. And that's up 2.1 from 2.1% last year. This is a trend. You know, 0.1% of the U.S. economy is enormous amount of not inflation, growth. And that means a future. The estimate for this year is unchanged from the International Monetary Fund's forecast released in April. Next year's estimate was revised up by 1/10 of a percentage point. Now, it sounds crazy that to have that low of growth, but you have to understand interest rates are kind of holding that growth down because the Fed has decided that money is going to be expensive. So if you're going to try to start a business or add equipment to a business or build a house or whatever you're going to do, the money's going to cost a lot to the bank, which means it's going to cost a lot to you. But let's compare Germany's economy. Germany, the powerhouse of the UK, of the EU, it's supposed to grow 0.7% this year and 1% in 2027 if they're lucky, if they can get a handle on their energy needs. France is poised to grow, get this, 0.6% this year. That's insanity. That's not growth. That's stagnation. Spain's growth is projected to be healthier at 2.1%, but it was crap before. They had nowhere to go but up. And President Trump is getting ready to pull most of the U.S. military from Spain, and that is about $700 million a year that's being spent by U.S. military personnel in Spain. That money's not going to be spent in Spain anymore. So whatever growth they think they're going to project for next year, they just peed in their Wheaties. It's just not going to happen. Global growth is seen at coming in at 3% in 2026. That's way down from 3.5% last year and under the earlier estimate of 3.1%. The International Monetary Fund says the slowdown in much of the world is attributable to what's going on with Iran. Iran bombing all of its neighbors, bombing ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. That's what's hurting everything. It is not Iran's economy. Forget about that. Iran's economy is of no consequence to the world. Really, let that sink in. Iran's economy is of no consequence to the world. Yes, they're sitting on lots of reserves, but they can't sell it. The only thing that they're trying to do is declare that they're victorious against the United States by attacking ships, free ships that are going through the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't even belong to them. And of course, the retaliation has been severe. They were bombed yesterday. They were bombed again today. President Trump flew to Turkey to negotiate a military deal. I don't think they should sell the F-35s to Turkey. There's technology on that jet that no one in the world should have but us. But you notice what Air Force One he flew. He didn't fly the new one. No, he didn't fly the gift from Qatar. He flew the battle-hardened real Air Force One. I bet it has a little stealth technology on it too. I mean, why scratch the new one, right? Trump is the number one target in the Middle East. Iran wants him dead, and I think they'll do anything to try to make that happen. But the global economy as a whole has so far weathered the shock from this little incursion or this little, let's call it a spanking of the IRGC. And that's going to be over pretty soon. I thought it would be over sooner than this, though. I actually thought that the Persians would hit the streets and finally say, we want our country back. But you know what they're in the streets hollering? Death to America. It doesn't make any damn sense to me at all. I don't know why. And yes, I heard you that you wanted us to drop weapons to the Persians and allow the Persians to take back their own country. We tried that. You remember Reagan and the Sandinistas and giving them weapons? You remember all that corrupt bullshit? The drugs and the money and the guns, and it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. Oliver North took the fall for it, but he had immunity, so he was a smart guy. He knew how to get out of that trouble and had a talk show after that like nothing ever happened. But we tried that. We tried arming people and letting them try to rise up. But there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. You just have to have the will in the people, and they just don't. For 2 generations, they have been attacked, they've been tortured, they've been murdered, they've been suppressed, they've been bagged up, sacked up, shut down every way you can think of. And the Persians are not what they used to be. I'm sorry, that's my assessment. You may bring a Persian on the air and he may have a completely different story. But the Persians that really want to be something, want to do something, they left. They left. They come to America. They go to other countries. You know who went to Iran? Afghans. Afghanistan totally invaded Iran. That's where all the black bags are coming from. That's where all the women that are, hey, we're fine with Sharia. Let it rock, baby. You know, we like being beaten. We like being stupid and not being able to go to school. We like being bred like sheep and thrown away like garbage. They like it. And they've invaded Iran, and the Persians have no voice anymore. So that's where that's heading. All right, let's also, because that's all I want to talk about. It's so negative. There's really no positive out of this. Iran is going to continue its bluster. It's going to continue to fire rockets at cargo ships and oil tankers. But, you know, we got A-10s over there taking out the fast attack boats. We have plenty of retaliatory force in the area, and we'll just keep hammering them and hammering them and hammering them, and they'll never get up. They can't sell their oil. They can't make any money. They didn't get their money from the freed up assets. They didn't get the sanctions lifted, and now they're getting bombed every night. So, you know, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. As I said, Iran has become inconsequential to the world. All right, let's talk a little bit about voting, because that's a big deal coming up. Now, we already know that Mitch McConnell is more like Schrodinger's cat than anything else. He's alive and he's dead. He did speak to people, or he did have somebody call and talk to him, but he didn't say anything back. You know, I've seen a lot of people have heart attacks at home, especially in their 80s. And when the EMTs finally show up, and I've seen them show up in my neighborhood, when they finally show up and they have to do CPR to bring you back because you're not alive, you have organ failure. You have lots of problems that you just don't come back from. So the rumors that Mitch McConnell is still alive is a little like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I guess, but worse. Because if the rhinos, if the global syndicate can hold on for just a few more weeks, let the body not quite get totally cold, just keep pumping warm blood through him, all right? And we'll get AI to issue a statement every now and then that, hey, I'm okay, you know, I'm walking around my room right now, that kind of stuff. Let that happen for a few more weeks. And what happens is we're in the regular election season. Election season starts on Labor Day, which is in August. Once we reach that, the time for a special election goes away. We're now in the regular election season. And why is this important? Because in Kentucky, the state law in Kentucky says that the governor cannot appoint a replacement. So if you have an incapacitated senator, which I believe at least we do in Kentucky, or a dead senator, which a possibility that we do in Kentucky, the governor has to call an immediate special election. An immediate special election. Now, there may be some senatorial candidates in Kentucky that have been preparing for this and have the money to run for a campaign for a special election, but I don't think there are many. Probably what's going to happen is the most famous person that can get the FaceTime is probably going to win that special election, if they have it. But if they can last until the general election, it leaves the Senate short one senator, and that's vital between now and January 1st, or January 1st or second week of January when the senators are seated. because it makes it almost impossible for the Senate to pass the Save America Act. That's what this is all about. Why is this all about that? Well, it's all about that because the Save America Act, if it's put into place, will, I think largely, by and large, prevent illegals from voting. Why? Because it has some requirements. First of all, you have to be a citizen to register. Then you have to show proof of citizenship to vote. Then you have to vote in person, because it's also going to ban mail-in ballots, except in very rare circumstances, like traveling out of the country, like military, or if you're in the hospital. Very, very small number of people. Not like Washington State, where everybody votes by mail. Not like some states like California, where they have freaking drop boxes, every other block. And anybody, including China, can prepare ballots and drop them in the box anytime they want, and they get counted for weeks and weeks. I mean, you're watching it happen. So the Save America Act will require all states to gather up the drop boxes and smash them. That's right. They will all go to the junkyard. They will be smashed in the crusher. No more drop boxes. If you want your ballot to count, you must take it to the post office. You must take it to the post office in person, not in an arm load. Not in an arm load. You have to take it in person. And your ballot has to be matched to the voting rolls in person at the post office. And it must be postmarked by Election Day. Now, maybe Election Day at 10 o'clock, or maybe the day before Election Day at midnight, but it's going to be very close. If you take your ballot to the post office 5 days after the election, it's not going to count. Well, you know and I know that that's going to cost the Democrats about 30 seats and maybe several governorships. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division actually sent letters today. They sent letters today to election officials in all 50 states. Every single one of them got this letter. And believe me, it was registered. They had to sign for it. They got it. And so they are officially served. And it asked these state officials how they intend to comply with the federal law to ensure that non-citizens do not vote. The DOJ gave every state not a week, not 20 days, not 30 days, 5 days. They have 5 days to respond to the department's demands. Now, this is Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon. I told you that President Trump would fundamentally change the Department of Justice. He did. We don't have an Attorney General yet, but we are going to have one very soon. We have an acting Attorney General. But here's how he changed it. He added Assistant Attorney Generals, several of them. And as I said about 3 months ago, he was listening. We need to cover 4 areas. The first, of course, is the coup that occurred in 2018 and 2020 and 2022. The coup. It's a huge deal, and people got to go to jail. No one attorney general can do that. It has to be done by somebody focused on that. Number 2 is the election infrastructure. That's Harmeet Dillon. She's totally focused on that. Want to make sure that the election infrastructure is supported by the Department of Justice before the election, not after the election, right? Number 3, of course, is crime in prisons. Crime in prisons. That's what Bondi was doing, but she wasn't doing any of this other stuff. And the last one, and probably the most important one, is immigration and fraud. Okay, that requires the full-time job of one guy, and that's what the Assistant Attorney General or the Acting Attorney General is working on. But any election officer, including the chief election officer of the state, they all got this letter. If they knowingly retain non-citizens on the state's voter registration list or facilitates non-citizens in receiving and casting ballots, they're going to jail. It's about freaking time. They're going to jail. They're not going to risk it. She noted it is a crime for two or more people to coordinate to deprive Americans of their constitutional rights, which is exactly what illegal does. It robs me of my vote. It robs Blue Max of his votes. It robs Stanley Mays of his vote. That's exactly what it does. She said, we encourage you to contact us to discuss what steps your state should take to maintain clean voter lists as required by law. Now, there are 29 states that have refused to turn those lists over. 21 states have turned them over. They've been cleansed of all the dead people, cleansed of all the illegals, cleansed of all the duplicate Social Security numbers, and they're as clean as they're going to get. But we still need to have in-person voting with ID. But 29 states have refused to do it, and even 2 states, California and New York, sued them for even asking. Anyway, the DOJ sent their letters to the state elections officials as President Trump has demanded that the state Senate, or that the U.S. Senate passes the Save America Act. Now, we've already seen all the sidesteps and two-steps and backroom deals that have been done to keep that off the floor. What that is basically doing, it is boxing President Trump in to where he can make one decision that will fix everything, but he's giving the Senate every possible chance to do the right thing. Every possible chance. He to take this quote, for instance, the Arizona Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, said in a statement that the suggestion that Arizona election officials are failing to do their jobs is simply not supported by the facts. Oh, really? Oh, really? So you're saying when our citizen reporters caught white vans full of counterfeit ballots heading to the counting facility from the printing facility, and we called the law, and the law refused to stop those vans to secure those illegal ballots, you're saying that the facts are not there. The facts never made it to court because the court kept deciding that no one that brought those facts had standing. But the facts are definitely there. She says, it is insulting to insinuate that the good people at our county recorder's offices across the state are not doing their jobs correctly. Arizona election officials have always worked to ensure that only eligible citizens are registered to vote, and we continue following Arizona law, not directions that come from political rhetoric or intimidation. Spoken like great words from a communist party. So I think what's going to happen is President Trump, when he comes back from Turkey, he should do 2 things. 2 things. Are you listening? Are you listening? Somebody's listening from the Trump administration. I know they are because they do some things that I suggest on this program. The first thing that the president should do is he should go directly from Air Force One to the hospital with the press to visit Mitch McConnell. Hey, Mitch, how are you doing? Everybody's concerned about you. I thought I would stop in personally and offer my support. That's the first thing he should do. Yeah, you can imagine how that's going to turn out, right? And the second thing he should do, he should declare a state of emergency for national security reasons. It's totally within his Article 2 powers. Declare a state of emergency for national security reasons. There has been an open and well-documented attack by a foreign country. Ooh, somebody just attacked my throat. There's been an attack by a foreign country on our election infrastructure. So in order to secure that election infrastructure, we are immediately, with the declaration of this emergency state, banning all mail-in ballots. No more mail-in ballots. If your state uses mail-in ballots, you better, by God, put some precincts together, get rid of those ballot boxes and those drop boxes, and set up in-person voting. You have the time to do it. You got 5 months, 4 months. Let's get it done. This is a state of emergency, and we're declaring it, and the military is going to back it up. That is not political rhetoric. That is not intimidation. That is a presidential order that we will secure our election infrastructure and there will be no cheating. All right. Let's talk a little bit about something really cool, the Save America account. Save America Act. The Save America Act, or the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, has been passed not once, not twice, but 3 times in the House, but it has been hamstrung in the Senate by the parliamentarian, who is an unelected bureaucrat. And what she has done is she has said that you have to have 60 votes to pass something in the Senate, not 51. This is not constitutional. The filibuster should be a talking filibuster. That is to say, somebody like Cory Booker has to stand up there and talk for 24, 25 hours, however long it is, till he sits down. And then when that ends, the vote happens, and it's 51. And that's when J.D. Vance can step in and be the 51st vote and make it happen. The Save America Act would fight election fraud by requiring individuals to provide proof of citizenship to register, proof of citizenship to vote, and it would ban mail-in ballots, except in very rare cases. The case in Alabama has become an example some Republicans spotlight to show how, despite existing voting laws, non-citizens are voting. They are participating in large numbers in the election. The battle actually played out in Alabama over several years when Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen identified 3,251 individuals in 2023 who were registered to vote in Alabama and had been issued non-citizen identification numbers by the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah. And at the same time, Allen said he was repeatedly denied help from the Biden administration. He also noted at the time it was possible for some of the individuals to have become naturalized citizens who are eligible to vote, and said the Secretary of State's office would allow them to update their information and participate in the civil process. His efforts to clean up the voter rolls were blocked in court by the Biden administration. But under Trump, Allen was able to have 186 non-citizens who were registered to vote removed from the state voter file. Allen partnered with the federal government to gain access to the systemic alien verification for entitlements program, which is a program used to identify non-citizens registered to vote in different states. That program was also blocked by a federal judge in June. And that's part of the reign of the judges we've been talking about for almost 2 years here. June 5th, just a few days ago, Allen's office announced that Homero had pleaded guilty to 2 counts of fraudulent voting in Marion County, Alabama, after voting in both the 2022 and 2024 elections. So those people that are saying the facts don't exist are lying to you. He says his office referred 25 non-citizens who illegally voted in Alabama elections to federal law enforcement authorities. A non-citizen residing in Marion County who registered to vote prior to my election as Secretary of State has pleaded guilty to 2 counts of fraudulent voting. My office will continue our efforts to identify non-citizens illegally registered to vote and voting in our elections, and I will refer them to law enforcement. In other words, they're going to jail. And the one thing an illegal fears is going to jail, because when they go to jail, they get deported. And the one thing they want to do is stay here. Blue Max says he thinks Israel interfered with our elections. I mean, it's open season. I call it the global syndicate, but I think by and large it's China. And that's facilitated through machines and software that were operating out of Venezuela. That's why the occupation, or should I say the change of guard in Venezuela was so important, because that key component in the election infrastructure attack has been decommissioned. It doesn't mean it's going to stop. Oh, no, it doesn't mean it's going to stop. Look what happened in California. In California, the counterfeit ballots were AI printed using artificial intelligence, and the information was stolen during the 2018 Equifax hack by China. It's well documented. Look it up. Absolutely look it up. 85 million Americans' personal information was stolen and compromised by China. What did they do with that information? Well, they didn't go borrow money. They didn't open accounts or get fake credit cards. I mean, they probably did, but that's not the main reason. The main reason was to have the ID and the name and the address and the signature of 85 million Americans so they could cast ballots in their name. And so when their candidate is losing in the election on election night, what they do is artificial intelligence calculates the number of ballots that are needed in each precinct. It generates those ballots one at a time with a printer, cha-chink, cha-chink, cha-chink. I don't know, what is it, 25 pages a minute each printer can print. And it is voted by and filled out by a person that actually exists in those files. And once, not too many, just the right amount, once those are printed, then they're delivered to the counting station, which California prides itself on counting every single ballot. They have a huge operation there to count ballots. But that doesn't matter. If the ballots are fake, if the ballots have been machine voted and printed, they're going to count them anyway. It's not the ballots that are sitting on that person's desk to be counted. It's the ballots that arrived 2 weeks late to alter that election. It's called, in the old days, we call it ballot box stuffing, where fake ballots were simply stuffed into the ballot box. But now it all happens hours, days, weeks after the election itself. The DOJ stated that Ramos told authorities he went with 2 associates who said they could help him register to vote in Marion County, according to the agency. He didn't tell anyone at the voter registration location he wasn't a U.S. citizen. They never asked. He just showed them his Alabama driver's license. Hey, that's good enough for us. In Alabama, administrative code states that a driver's license can be used as proof of citizenship. Same in Florida. Yeah, same in Florida, folks. Same in Florida. Probably the same in your state. It's not proof of citizenship. If it's not the safe ID, if it doesn't have that star on it, it can't be used to register to vote. Can't be used. How do you get that star? A birth certificate. You must be born in this country, which illegal is not. So there's a similar case out of Alabama involving a foreign national who came in from Canada. He's accused in January of voting in 9 different state and federal elections. He wasn't a U.S. citizen. At the time of the charges, 71-year-old Frank Neil Maloney was out on bond for an unrelated case involving 187 counts of child pornography and 4 counts of dissemination of child pornography. And this is so common. Republicans contend the Save America Act would obliterate these kinds of cases by requiring proof of citizenship to register, proof of citizenship at the time of voting in person, which I think largely it would. Riley Moore, who's a Republican from West Virginia, said that election integrity remains a major concern among Republican voters, calling it a core tenet. Democrats don't care about this at all. They're afraid that what did they say? 9 million people in the United States are going to lose their health care, going to lose their ability to vote. Yeah, people, not citizens. It's going to be a top issue for any Republican that you talk to. And this is, you could say it's a MAGA issue, but it's really an American issue. Because here's the thing, Earth Explorers. Let me just put this in terms maybe that the average person can understand. It's kind of like Star Wars. You know, in Star Wars, you had the Empire and you had the Rebel Alliance. Well, the Rebel Alliance has been victorious over time in the galaxy because they're able to come together, but only after the Empire has done terrible things to them. Because there are people, traders and merchants and everything around the galaxy, they think, we just work with the Empire, right? The Empire buys stuff. Their money is good here, blah, blah, blah. And they just say, well, look, if you're not committing any crimes, you really have nothing to fear from the Empire, right? Well, that's kind of the way Americans are. Americans are the same way. The issue is that this country, America, was founded on rebellion. We rebelled against the crown. We fought a war and we won it. They came back 125 years later and stole our country back. Now President Trump is trying to undo that deindustrialization effort that the global syndicate's been trying to do against our country. And most people have said, well, I have a job and, I have a house and insurance and I'm raising my kids. I'm doing the best I can. It's just a bad economy. And, I'm not really a criminal, so I don't really have anything to worry about. But our right, our fundamental right to rebel every 2 years, to say, hey, my congressman is not doing a good job for me. He's not doing a good job in Washington. My senator doesn't even know who I am. He doesn't care anything about our state. He makes deals in Washington that are good for him and good for his club, but not good for our state, Mitch McConnell. And I want to rebel. I want to ditch Mitch. I want to get him out of office. But you can't. You can't, because your ability to rebel has been compromised. The election infrastructure has been so corrupted. It doesn't matter how you vote. Go ask all your friends. Go ask all the people you will. Go to Little League, go to soccer, go to wherever you want. Ask everybody, did you vote for this guy? Everyone's going to say, no, I didn't vote for him. Nobody voted for him, and yet he won. Why? Because your vote didn't count. Sink it in again. Your vote didn't count. It was canceled out by some compromise in the system that has been run by the global syndicate. That's why these guys don't worry. Once they're in their 2 terms, they don't care. They don't run it. Why do you think the communists have been so successful in the Democrat Party? It's because the people that they are unseating, the incumbents that they are unseating, don't run campaigns. They don't run campaigns. They don't raise money. Their office is bought every single term by the system. That's where all the USAID money and all the Planned Parenthood money and all the Act Blue money, that's where it goes, is to pay for those campaigns. Those guys don't run a campaign. They don't go out and knock on doors and shake hands. They know they're going to win. Just like Karen Bass in LA. She didn't go out and campaign. What about Rahman, the Indian woman in LA? She didn't campaign. Nobody even knew her. She lost in her own precinct by double digits. Where did she pick up the votes? In precincts where no one had ever heard her name. You understand how the cheating goes? Spencer Pratt was unseated by a third candidate who'd already conceded. On election night, she'd already cried. She'd already conceded. Don't worry about it, baby. We're counting the votes as we go. You're going to be fine. We're going to find those 24,000 votes that you need to come in second and unseat Spencer Pratt. No, you're not going to win the general election. That's not your job. Your job is to make sure Spencer Pratt doesn't run in the general election. That's your job. That's your only job. You're going to lose against Karen Bass. And Karen Bass is not going to debate anybody, anywhere, anytime. Why? Because her election is assured. It's assured by the system. That's how the communists take over. The communists take on these weak areas where incumbents are not running campaigns. They invest the money, they run the campaign, and people say, well, yeah, I'll vote for that free stuff. And that's how it's been compromised. I don't know, Blue Max. China doesn't have to lift a finger to destroy the West. The West has it handled all by themselves. Okay, here's where I will agree with you. The CCP would never have to physically attack the United States, not as an army. All they would really have to do is destabilize the infrastructure, whether it's energy, a blackout. I mean, if they shut the lights off in LA for 72 hours, you know what would happen. The left would rise up and burn that freaking place to the ground. That's what the CCP relies on. That's what the CCP relies on. You know, during the conflict with Iran, 175 people were killed. In Chicago. In Chicago. Only 13 Americans have lost their lives in operations in Iran, but 175 lost their lives in Chicago. That's all the CCP has to do. Turn out the lights, destabilize the system, knock down law enforcement just long enough to let the radical left rise up and do what they do. Where do you think these, what they call teen takeovers, and that's a total psyop right there. What do I mean by that? They're not teens, and they're not just teens. They're black young people by the hundreds. Well, how do they get together? How do they know where to show up and where to run and who to beat up and what to steal? How do they know? Because they're communicating. Because they're communicating with one another. Well, what are they communicating with? How come we can't discover this before it happens? Because the technology that's being used to support this color revolution is the CCP. They're the ones that are organizing it. They're the ones that are making it happen. Yes, they're excited about it. Oh, they're promised reparations. Go get your money, people. Go get your money. Go rob it from the stores. Get your Nikes. Get your flat screen TVs. Smash cars. Beat people up. Rape. Mob. Destroy. They love it. They love it. And what happens to them? Nothing. Nothing happens to them. City after city after city, mall after mall, organization after organization, outdoor event after outdoor event, thousands of them all over the country. How do they do it? They're communicating. They're communicating. They're being coached how to do it. And no, they're not just teens. They're blacks. And they're not just teenagers. They're in their 20s and their 30s. These people that are having fights with the police and overwhelming everything, these aren't kids. These aren't 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. These are 20, 25, 30-year-old people. What are they doing? Well, they're getting their reparations. They're going after it because they've been promised by the force that has them motivated. So you're right in one way. They really don't have to raise a finger. The violence is already lit. The fuse is already lit inside of our metros. It happens down here in Charlotte. Charlotte, under Mayor Vi, under the leadership of Crooked Roy Cooper, who, by the way, is running for Senate. Please do not vote for this man. Oh, my God. Charlotte has been destroyed by Roy Cooper and Mayor Vi. Now, fortunately, Mayor Vi is out of office. We threw her out of office. She resigned last month. Now, I don't know who they're going to replace her with, but if the NAACP has their way, it's going to be another black woman. That's just the way it is in this city. Of course, the issue is that people are dying in Charlotte. Charlotte is now a very dangerous city where it wasn't. It wasn't. You could go downtown. You could hop to a few bars. You could have dinner. You go to a cigar bar. You could go dancing, sing karaoke, go get into your vehicle in the public parking and drive home safe. Did it for years. Can't do it now. Can't even get on the light rail. You're going to get stabbed in the throat. I walked from the cigar bar to my truck where it was parked in the public parking. I was mugged I was mugged. Of course, he wasn't successful because I told him I was a retired cop. If he didn't back off, he was going to be in big trouble. So he backed off. But my buddy, who's 6'5" and built a lot bigger than I am, they mugged him and stole his phone. It took him about 4 hours to get his phone back, but he got it back. The point is, both of us were mugged in the same night in Charlotte. That's how bad it is. Now we have basically a saying, welcome to Charlotte. We hope you don't die. I think DC is pretty clean myself. Did you hear that there was some kind of operation planned for the America 250 celebration where they had all the fireworks? Did you hear that? Did you hear that they thwarted it? Somehow they monitored it or infiltrated it and they stopped it from happening? When I looked at the fireworks on Saturday night, I was blown away myself. I was blown away. The scope of the fireworks was beyond imagination. It kept going and going and going and going. But the other thing that I really, really liked was all the military music, military musicians in uniform, singing and dancing and playing orchestra, playing instruments. They played a lot of songs. They played Taylor Swift. They played Bon Jovi. They played Earth, Wind, and Fire. They played a lot of popular songs. But they had camera people, shoulder cams, going all through this crowd of 385,000 people. Yeah. And they started at almost midnight. Crazy. 385,000 people. And what were they seeing? Smiles, MAGA hats, red, white, and blue shirts, people dancing, people hugging, people smiling, little kids, all races. No violence whatsoever, no protests, no signs, saying death to America or anything like that. It was marvelous. It was marvelous celebration. In fact, it was so marvelous, it reminded me of January 6th, 2021. That was one of the most amazing gatherings. I've been to a lot of Trump rallies, but to be there with 1 million people on the mall, there by the Ellipse, listening to President Trump speak. They were from all over the world. We had caravans 70 miles long the day before coming into DC, 70 miles long with American flags and red, white, and blue, and people were singing, and they came in. It was amazing. The love, the togetherness, the love of America. I got to meet people. They were all wonderful. Everyone was wonderful. And when we left, 1 million people left. There was not a speck of trash on the ground. Everything was in the bins where they're supposed to go. There were no fights. There were no brawls. People came peacefully. They left peacefully. It was amazing. It was an amazing celebration of America. What we wanted Congress to do was look out the window and see 1 million of us who knew what they did. Nancy Pelosi, we saw what you did. We saw the cheating in the 6 or 7 states. You didn't get away with it. We saw it. We're talking about it. We're here talking about it. That's what it reminded me of. And it was amazing. This celebration of America was phenomenal. All right. And we had a good backyard display too. I don't know how much money was spent on it, but we all kick in every year. And Shane does a marvelous job of putting the show together. If you follow me on Facebook, you saw some of the fireworks because I posted some of them. They're great. I mean, you won't see a better fireworks show at the lake. We have it. And there are houses all around that just stop what they're doing and come out in the backyard and look at the fireworks display because it's awesome. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll take a quick break for 3 minutes and we'll be right back after this. Please don't go away. More America Free Radio right after this.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Tune in to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
The rooster has crowed out the opening bars of a new day. You've dragged yourself out of bed. You turn on your device. You want to know what's going on in the world. But you're hungry for a topical show that serves up those breakfast headlines just that little bit differently. Do you like your early morning news the way you like your eggs over easy? Served with slathers of salsa-like sass? Do you like those first headlines of the day to deliver a punch as powerful as that first cup of joe? Join Mitchell Bupp at his breakfast table for Revolution in the Morning, where he will digest, dissect, and dismantle those new day's national and global news headlines with razor-sharp relish. Find Mitchell here at revolution.radio every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on Studio B.
Through everything, we have to remember that we have more in common than not in common. And to find this common ground, tune in to Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A. Because we come to this table of life to learn in the best possible way and experience this gift of life from our mutual Creator. So let's learn together and build our best future with Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Condition 1. As we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in. And I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We shall never surrender.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for hanging in there while we took that short break. Now back to America Free Radio with host Brooks Agnew here at Revolution Radio.
Wonderful. I love the Revolution Radio station identification mid-show. They really do a good job. I appreciate that. Let's do something really quick. We're going to go to my website, which is brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. Those of you listening by audio can follow along. And we're just going to scroll down a little bit and click on, I want you to look at this, The Calling, the Angelic Reunion. This is in Mount Shasta. It starts on the 16th to 20th of this month. If you're out there in the California area or Nevada area, you need to make your way to this. It's going to be the spiritual event of the year. I'm really happy about going. Lily Nova is going to be there. Sasha Stone's going to be there. You know, these are my friends. They've been my friends for years, and we're going to get together and we're going to deliver. I promise you, if you come, you're going to leave uplifted and whole. All right, let's visit my health and safety page. Catching a little bit of flack for this, but I don't care. My mission is to save lives. According to the 2017 TRI Act, Americans can try whatever they wish to treat themselves. That you have now got the federal authority to do that. So in that effort, you have learned about several products. You just don't know where to get them. One is called ivermectin. One is called fenbendazole. The other is mebendazole, and the other is hydroxychloroquine. The HHS Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., speaks about these products all the time. We're trying to make them available to you. We sell the information and provide the samples for you. All you have to do is click the Buy Now button, and it will be delivered to you. Now, hydroxychloroquine and fenbendazole, we're still on a 4-day delivery schedule, so if you order tonight, you'll have it by Saturday. Ivermectin and mebendazole, we're still running behind for a couple of reasons. One is that the Democrats had U.S. Customs shut down for 9 weeks. We have enough product coming in to be able to fill all the orders that we have and then some. Of course, HHS Secretary has seized and destroyed about 36 boxes of my product, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. We're not going to stop. We are going to be able to provide you these great products to help you comply with the 2017 TRI Act. HHS is going to continue to violate federal law. There isn't anything I can do about that. Maybe if RFK Jr. or someone who knows him is listening tonight, maybe you can do something about it and stop them from destroying my product. If you have any questions how to use these products, there's a great book out called Fenbendazole and Ivermectin Protocols, a practical handbook. It's the best-selling book in the subject matter. I offer it. You can buy it. I don't make any money on it. I'm just providing the link to you because a lot of you ask me questions about it. And don't forget about the True Niagen. I make no money on this whatsoever. Trust me. I take True Niagen every single day, 600 milligrams, and it makes a huge difference. I've been taking it for 8 years, and I have not aged in 8 years. We don't know where this is going to end up. A lot of products have come along and gone away, True Niagen stays because it's the best, because it teaches your body how to make the NAD again, like you used to when you were 45 or younger. And that's what fills your muscles with mitochondria, which processes the ATP, which gives you your energy. If you want to look and feel and be younger, take the True Niagen. Thousands of my friends take it. They all swear by it. None of them are stopping. They're on a regular subscription, and they just stay young. It helps with your skin, your eyesight, your brightness, your energy, your sleep patterns. You can't go wrong. I take Zima, which is zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B. It's a little pricey, but as far as zinc supplements go, but the Walmart stuff doesn't work. Let me just tell you right now, you go to Walmart and you buy zinc and you take it, it's just going to go through your body like a zinc coin and come right out the other end. It's going to do nothing for you. This zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B complex is blended to work. Athletes take this. I take it, and it really does make a difference. I take it every single day. I never get a cold. I never get sick. I don't have anything wrong with me. I'm taking one medication. One. I'm 71 years old. That's it. And don't forget about your Insulis. Now, Insulis is something you don't know about unless you listen to this program, because nobody else sells it but me. If they do, I don't know about it. I take it every day. I put about 5 drops under my tongue 2-3 times a day, and it keeps my A1C numbers down. When I have my blood tested, the A1C numbers come out below 7. That's what my doctor likes to see. If yours are getting up 8, 9, 10, you're pre-diabetic, baby. And it's not because you probably don't have enough insulin in your system. It's because you're insulin resistant. That's what the Insulis does. That's what the Insulis does. It takes less insulin to get the job done. And you can't eat it because it just destroyed in the stomach. You put it under the tongue, it's sublingual, it goes right into the bloodstream. It's called a microdose, and it works fantastic. All right, let's get back to it because we got stuff we have to talk about. We just violated every FDA rule that there is, but I don't care. Wait. I want to read what Blue Max said. I want to be positive, but we are just one election away from total communism. The Biden regime gave us all a little taste of the terror they planned for us. They are still with us waiting. He is exactly right. That's why it takes diligence, vigilance. You have to stay awake and aware about this. If there's a communist campaigning in your area, go run against him. Go campaign against him. Go campaign for the person that's running against him. No communist is going to run for a Republican seat. It ain't going to happen. The communists are going after the Democrat seats. So all you really have to do is make sure, if you're a Republican, get the hell out and vote. That's how you stop them. Tina Forte finally won her primary, and now she's going to run against AOC in New York. Will she beat her? I don't know, because in that district in the Bronx, there's only 9 Republicans. And if all 9 show up, maybe Tina will have a chance. But I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I just don't have any faith in it, because AOC won that district by money that was spent by Jake Uecker to audition her as an actress, feed her the script, which Obama's speechwriter wrote for her, and she beat a 10-term incumbent. And obviously, Democrats control the Bronx, not Republicans, and Democrats don't primary their own. So AOC won her primary easily, and I don't think she's going to be unseated. But go Tina Forte, Forte, if you want to know how to donate money. All right, let's talk a little bit about the ceasefire in Iran. I guess it's over. Iran targeted American military sites in the Gulf today after the U.S. launched strikes on several places in Iran and reinstated sanctions on its oil sales. It can't sell oil. It's not going to get the sanctions lifted. It can't free up its money. It's broke. It has no revenue whatsoever. Washington said it was responding to the Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, yes, I guess I can put that in there. I did state it, but I will put it in here. Hold on one second. I'm typing in the dark, so just give me a second. I think that'll do it. Yes. Okay. The link is now in the chat for those of you wanting to know how to get the products. Yes, everything is less than $1. Every single tablet is less than $1. And I could get it down 20% if HHS would quit seizing and destroying my product. That's the cost of doing business. Sorry, there's no way I'd get around it unless they stop doing it. If they stop seizing and destroying my product, I'll lower the price again, because I'm not in this to make money. I'm in this to save your life. So attacks have repeatedly threatened the shaky ceasefire, but Trump's comments add new uncertainty, and oil prices shot up after he spoke. Not much, but the terror premium is going to take its toll. We could see gas prices jump a little bit again. But in the end, the IRGC and the mullahs, the ayatollahs, they're going to lose. Trump says, for me, I think it's over. They can talk, but I think we're wasting their time. Negotiations to reach a final deal had been due to start after the days-long funeral for Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed way back in February 28th in the war's first moments. The funeral, which ends Thursday, was supposed to be a period of lower tensions. It wasn't. The talks are meant to focus on the toughest matters, including fully reopening the strait and rolling back Tehran's disputed nuclear program. The era of bullying and extortion is over. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf wrote on X, "It leads nowhere. We don't fold." So he thinks that we're bullying him. We think he's bullying the Middle East. So the U.S. Military Central Command said American forces launched strikes to impose heavy costs for targeting and attacking commercial shipping. That's what a bully does. A bully attacks the shipping, attacks the oil tankers, attacks the container ships. And then the people that fight bullies, us, fight back, and that's when the bully goes crying to mommy. It said it hit Iranian targets, including air defense systems, radars, and over 60 small boats used by Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. Yeah, the A-10 Warthogs are making short work of that 30 caliber machine gun, a 30 caliber Gatling gun, actually. 30 caliber is about this big around. It's a big explosive round. It makes short work of those boats. And the guys flying the A-10s have a lot of fun doing it. And women. Iranian state media reported explosions in several locations, including in Bandar, Mashhar, where a guard member was killed. It also reported attacks on Bushehr, home to Iran's nuclear power plant complex. This morning, both Bahrain, home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, and Kuwait, home to the U.S. Army forces, sounded missile alerts. The Guard issued a statement acknowledging targeting U.S. military installations in both countries. Kuwait said it intercepted 2 ballistic missiles and 13 drones. Its electricity ministry said a number of lines were out of service after shrapnel fell on them. A similar spate of Iranian attacks on shipping and U.S. retaliatory strikes occurred late last month, which similarly drew Iran attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait. Today's strikes came as Trump was in Turkey for a summit of the NATO military alliance. Yeah, we'll see how that's going to go. NATO is a very aggressive offensive force, not a defensive force. They have conquered and invaded 63 sovereign countries. They've taken over those governments. They've assassinated presidents. They have forced their military and their assets into 63 sovereign countries. And it's about time for it to come to an end. It just has to. Let's see. I don't want to cover any more of that. It's old news. Let's see. It appears Trump is making good on his threat. I'll give a little warning. We're going to hit them hard tonight. We'll look to see what happens on Thursday. He's going to be meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. I hear that they're going to license Ukraine to make Tomahawk missiles. So we won't be selling them to them. They'll be building them under license agreement from us. Generally, what that means is you build the missile and we bring the technology and put into the missile, but you don't get the technology. You don't get to reverse engineer it. I don't know, JJ. I mean, time to bomb them into the next century. I don't know if that's the solution or not. I think the economic solution is the best one. Let's hold back the sanctions, keep their frozen assets where they can't get to them, and don't let them sell oil. Because the one thing we know about the IRGC is those guys won't fight if they're not paid. If they're bankrupt, if their army is bankrupt, they don't have an army. No one's going to go out and fight out of fate. That doesn't pay the bills. That doesn't keep mama happy. I mean, if they want to go out and fight without that, they're just all going to die. I think that what we have to do is do what we did to Japan. I don't mean drop the nuclear bomb on them, but we have to say, you will not have a military for 50 years. That's it. You don't need a military. The Middle Eastern countries of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Oman and Qatar, they will take care of all your defense. You have nothing to fear from anyone. And Israel's not going to attack you. We will see to that. But you will have no military. You don't need a military. You can have a police force. You can have, your regular law enforcement infrastructure, but you don't need a military. Iran doesn't get a military. The military is going to be outlawed. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. And how do you make that happen? Well, it's a big country, but you don't have to bomb the whole country. All you have to do is bomb where they are. All right. Yeah, I know it's not easy to do in the chat room. I agree with that. It moves too fast and points are hard to make. Let's see here. Mad Hat's here. Vader 369 is here, way over in Pennsylvania. Walls is such an obvious candy ass. It's hilarious. I'm gonna agree with that totally. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the scratch offs. Energize the scratch offs in there so you guys can trade around a little bit. Foxhole has a cryptocurrency that they use. All right, let's talk a little bit about birthright citizenship, because we heard what the Supreme Court decision was, but we also heard the dissents. Kavanaugh's was very interesting. And President Trump said something interesting today. He said that he's going to ask the Supreme Court to rehear its recent decision striking down his executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship. It was a 5-4 decision, which surprised the hell out of me. I thought it would be 6-3 the other way. I think they would. I thought they would go originalist, but they didn't. I really thought that Amy Comey and Roberts would vote originalist, but they didn't. The High Court held that children born in the U.S. to parents who are in the country illegally or temporarily are U.S. citizens under the 14th Amendment. But he says, I will be asking for a rehearing by the United States Supreme Court immediately. This miscarriage of justice will destroy America if they don't change their absolutely insane decision. But does it happen? Yes, it does. Supreme Court does rehear cases. Does the Supreme Court make mistake? Hell yes, they do. Look where Dred Scott. Look at Roe v. Wade. Look at all the dreadful mistakes that the Supreme Court has made and then overturned itself. And it could do that again this time. Under the court's Rule 44, a lot of people don't know about this, but there's a Rule 44. It's a petition for rehearing, and it generally has to be filed within 25 days of the judgment and is intended to address exceptional circumstances, including significant legal or factual issues the court might have overlooked. And I promise you that if they would have looked at these issues, they would have decided 6-3. As I said, they would have been originalist and gone with the original writing of the 14th Amendment and taken into consideration the Kim Wong-Ark case and the Native American case. The court grants few such petitions. And when you have a country that's 85, 87% in favor of a 6-3 vote, as I am stating, it's good grounds for rehearing the case. Of course, I think they took a long time to make this decision anyway. This was one of the first executive orders that President Trump wrote. The Barbara versus President Trump case was very quick on the draw. It was not really clean the way it should be for a Supreme Court case. The argument that was made by the Solicitor General was flawless and fantastic and covered most of the major issues. But it seems like, based on some of the conversations that were made public, that the justices have over time, that they had already made up their minds before they had considered all the evidence. And that's why a rehearing is rare, but it is done. So if you follow the rule, Abigail Jackson, who's the press secretary, said on the 1st of July that the fight over birthright citizenship is just getting started and Trump isn't giving up on this anytime soon. She said the administration remains committed to ending what it views as abuse of the nation's birthright citizenship laws despite the Supreme Court's ruling. American citizenship is worth so much more than a cheap plane ticket or a last-minute border crossing. The American people can rest assured that President Trump isn't giving up on this anytime soon. I understand that. Oh, yes, I can go back to it. Thank you very much for bringing that to my attention. I did not undo that. I will do that right now. Sorry about that. Now we're back to full screen. Sorry about that. I still had my America Free Radio background going. Texas has now stated that they're going to refuse to give birth certificates to children of illegals and tourists. No birth certificate. And the federal government can't force them to give a birth certificate. That is given by the Office of Vital Statistics in the state. So look for a whole new round of lawsuits here where people are going to sue the state of Texas and force them to issue birth certificates. And guess what? They're going to lose. They're going to lose because the state, and only the state, can decide who is and who is not a citizen of that state. And if you can get another state to issue a birth certificate to an illegal baby born in Texas, have at it. But I don't think it's going to happen. She also said the administration believes the Supreme Court fundamentally misinterpreted the intent of the 14th Amendment, arguing it was never designed to automatically grant citizenship to children born to foreign nationals who enter the country illegally or temporarily. It was meant for slaves. It was written for slaves. We don't have slaves in this country. Trump also claimed in his post that signs advertising birthright citizenship are being posted along the U.S.-Mexico border and in Mexico. Signs and billboards are being put up all over our southern border in Mexico advertising birthright citizenship with deliveries starting at $4,000. Likewise, similar signs going up all over our country. Billions and billions of dollars will be illegally made by this scam, with citizenship going to anyone willing to pay. It will be by far the number one way of becoming a citizen, and then the entire family will be allowed to follow. Not sustainable. Nobody saw this coming. American citizenship is not for sale. In fact, that is a crime, and therefore the Supreme Court's ruling is wrong. Yeah, I know. California will hand them out with EBT cards. You're right, Underwaterman. Exactly right. I don't know, Tupac's pray to Jesus for peace the Christian way. I'm thinking, I don't think we should pray for Jesus to come back. Because I don't think Jesus is going to come to save us. I think he's going to come to judge us. We'll be hell to pay. Be hell to pay. And to tell you the honest truth, if there is such a thing as a rapture, and I don't really think there is, I don't want to be taken up. I don't want to be taken up in the clouds and look down on the ground and watch the wicked be burned to stubble. I don't want to do it. It's a terrible, nasty thing to see. I don't want to see it. I don't wish that upon them. I wish that all people that are repenting would continue the process. That's who the righteous are. That's who the righteous are. And the ones that molest children or hurt a child or rape a child, Jesus is going to take them out first. And I bet he takes them out before he takes us up. He's so mad about that. He already told us it'd be better for a millstone to be hung around your neck and you cast into the sea than what I'm going to do to you. Yeah, he's going to take them out first. The thing about it is, Blue Max, judgment has been laid on cities, and we have record of that. And even if the more part of the people are wicked, they still get by. You know, Sodom and Gomorrah, they couldn't even find 10 righteous people in the city. Not even 10. Weren't even 5. And so, you know, Lot and his family escaped. His wife didn't because she still had friends, maybe more than friends. She looked back, turned to a pillar of salt, but everybody else was laid waste. We have seen judgment come in the past when the wickedness gets to that point. But honestly, Blue Max, I think we're about 50-50. I think we're about 50% good people because you know why? I see millions of them. I saw them in Washington, D.C. I saw them when me and a million of my friends went there. They were all good people. They were all good people. They came because they loved the country. You know, I live in North Carolina, which is, you know, not really that rural, but it's rural. Everybody that I meet, everybody, they're all good people. They're all working hard. They're all doing their best. They don't have a wicked bone in their body. I don't think America's lost. I just think that evil prospers when good men do nothing except move to another state. If you stayed and you held your ground and you ran for office or you voted for somebody that went into office that would actually care for the law, because the law is king in this country. That's what we want. We want law. We want justice. And if we don't get justice, we will go to war. We're not just going to run forever. One day we will turn and we will fight. And you people that are voting for communism, good God, people, read a little history. Read a little history. The way into communism is always the same. Elections, wanting free stuff, wanting, you know, to be cared for, to have your butt wiped, to have your meals prepared for you, to have your house given to you. It always starts the same way. And it always ends with blood. Every single time. You know, I talked to Russians after the wall fell. I worked with some. And you know what they said? I wish the old Russia was back. I wish communism. At least we didn't have to worry about paying rent. And I said to him, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Pay your own rent and be free. Live where you want. Be what you want. Do what you want. The curse is if you don't want anything. You don't want anything. You don't want to work. You don't want to earn. You don't want to learn to be anything. You just want to be cared for. From the time you wake up out of a drunken stupor in the morning to the time you drink yourself into oblivion at night, you want to be cared for. You want to be taken care of. That's what communism promises you. But you're going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel. You're going to be scraping the sewers for something to eat with communism. The only way to freedom, the only way to fulfill the measure of your creation is freedom and liberty. And you don't get that in communism. You don't get free speech. You don't get to decide where you want to live. You don't get to decide what your job is. You don't get to decide what you study or what you teach your children, that's all decided for you. I know property taxes for life doesn't feel like freedom. I agree with that. My taxes went up. My insurance went up. I agree with that. And I think that there's a push in several states to get rid of that, at least for people that have their homes paid for. All right, let's talk a little bit about the reign of the judges. One more thing here. You remember the judge, Hannah Dugan? You remember this heifer? She's the one that ICE showed up at the courthouse to pick up an illegal that was in her courtroom. And what she did is she spirited him out the back door and got him out into the parking lot. ICE had to run outside and capture him. It put a lot of people's lives at risk, because once that guy got out, he's not armed in the courthouse. But once he got outside, he could have got his hand on a weapon. And ICE had to chase him down outside in the neighborhood. It could have been a shootout to the death. It wasn't. They caught him, but they also caught her for aiding and abetting the escape. And so they arrested her. And she was found guilty of obstructing ICE agents. But the issue is that she was convicted last year after ICE agents showed up to the Milwaukee County Courthouse to detain 31-year-old Eduardo Flores Ruiz, who had entered the country illegally and was appearing before Dugan for a hearing in a state battery case. He had beat a woman up. Dugan first confronted the ICE agents before helping Flores Ruiz and his attorneys sneak out through the back door of her courtroom. And he was caught, as I said, outside. He didn't manage to get his hands on a weapon, but he could have. And by the way, he was later arrested by the FBI. Dugan was convicted of felony obstruction and faced up to 5 years in prison. Prosecutors reportedly requested that Dugan serve between 15 and 21 months in prison. So Dugan appeared to show no remorse for her actions, telling the court prior to sentencing that her acts that day were consistent with community concerns at the courthouse. Edelman decided to give her a slap on the wrist. This is a situation where otherwise good person upset by immigration enforcement in this country, a sentiment widely shared, made a bad decision in the moment. And so she got nothing. Edelman has made his political bias clear, according to reporting everywhere. Let's see. Edelman wrote a piece in 2020 entitled "The Roberts Court's Assault on Democracy" that attacked the conservative majority of the court. In that essay, Edelman accused President Donald Trump of being an autocrat. In fact, when Edelman was selected to oversee Dugan's case, Jeff Wagner, who's a former lawyer and radio host, tweeted out this. He said, "Talk about luck of the draw. Following indictment, the Dugan prosecution was randomly assigned to Judge Lynn Edelman. Judge Edelman, age 85, is the most liberal judge in the Eastern District of Wisconsin and maybe one of the more liberal judges in the U.S. And Dugan got nothing. No remorse, broke the law, supposed to get 15 to 21 months, and she got nothing. That's the reign of the judges. Yes, crooked judges letting crooked judges off. That's exactly right, Tatanka Dave. And that is the reign of the judges. Bukele says if you don't impeach these judges, they will destroy your country. All right. But it's not all bad. Florida is fighting back. In August of 2021, you remember the time, don't you? Yeah. When the global syndicate used COVID as an excuse to lock down the middle class in the entire world, put tens of millions of people out of work, sent them checks so they could stay home and do drugs and, buy a four-wheeler and go sailing, and the Great Resignation, we call it, the Great Resignation of 2021. There was a Florida woman. Her name is Precious Bland. And she decided that, it was just too much. Being out of work, not being able to go to work, having her company shut down, this all-out, full-on attack on the middle class and destroy the Trump economy was too much. So she drowned her 15-month-old and stabbed her husband because he was trying to stop her from drowning the baby. After she was arrested and put on trial nearly 5 years later, she pled insanity, claiming that she had a psychotic break due to the stress of the lockdown, which it did put a lot of stress on a lot of people. And there was a lot of this going on. At the time of the drowning, she allegedly screamed, "Jesus Christ is coming and COVID is going to kill us all." The judge of this case, Miguel de la O, apparently found this argument persuasive and acquitted her, just acquitted her by reason of insanity. Well, typically elsewhere in the country, Wisconsin, for example, that would be the end of the story right there, right? Time and again, a psychotic murderer commits a heinous crime, stands before some blue-hair liberal judge, claims insanity, receives mental health treatment, just like they do here in Charlotte, one stabbing after another, after another, after another, and you're out 10, 12, 14, 15 times until finally you murder. And even then, they want to claim you're too insane to stand trial. Because they stand before a liberal judge and they claim insanity. And then they're released back into the public so they can have more psychotic breaks and they can kill more people. Remember Irina Zarutska, killed by DeCarlos Brown, stabbed in the neck 3 times because she was white. She was a young, beautiful, white Ukrainian woman, a refugee, Irina Zarutska. And instead of putting Brown on death row for repeatedly stabbing an innocent woman and killing her on a bus and then bragging about how he got that white girl, they declared him incompetent to stand trial. And the leftists have pointed out that Brown has not been released, but kept in federal custody in a mental health facility until he becomes adequately competent to stand trial and receive punishment. And as Chris Sharp writes in the City Journal, if Brown cannot recover from his mental illness, he would likely be returned to state custody, which would allow Brown's case to be dismissed, setting him free. You're free. You're free to go. 14 times been arrested for violent crimes and once for cold-blooded murder. You're free to go. Fortunately, we here at America Free Radio, we're pushing back against this gross injustice. Responding to the acquittal of Precious Bland, Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer is filing articles of impeachment against the judge. Yes, Uthmeyer called out other such rulings from judges who refuse to punish dangerous criminals like Bland, including a man released after attempted murder who later killed 3 tourists as well as a child sex offender, who later murdered his 5-year-old stepdaughter. All of these monsters pled insanity and were quietly released by liberal judges refusing to administer the law. Once again demonstrating why he is the best governor in the country, Ron DeSantis immediately endorsed Uthmeyer's actions, calling on the state's legislature to do its duty and vote impeach to these judges. If Florida's Congress follows through, removes Judge Miguel de la O from office, this could signal a massive shift in criminal justice, at least in Florida. But not just in Florida. It's also going to happen in North Carolina. For too long, leftist judges have flouted the law and put criminals back on the streets because we don't get justice. We go to war. That's the cycle. Mercy, peace, justice, war. Mercy, peace, justice, war. We will go to war. Following the principles of critical legal theory, which holds that law supports a power dynamic which favors the historically privileged and disadvantages the historically underprivileged. They actively subvert the legal process in any way they can. This usually translates to accept bogus claims of mental incompetence, issuing lighter and lighter sentences for heinous crimes, and seeking out alternatives to incarceration. By doing so, they can do their part to remedy the disparate impact of the law on Black people, who proportionally commit crimes in far greater numbers than those in other racial groups. Them's the facts, people. All over the country, even in red states like Florida, these judges have systematically undermined the legal process and made their jurisdictions less safe. However, it is not enough to arrest these criminals and expect the judge to send them to prison. Oh, no, no, no. The judge just sends them right back to commit more crimes, which has been happening in Charlotte for 8 freaking years. And it's time to make matters worse. There is usually nothing that can be done about any of it except impeach the judges. And that's where we're going. That's the war we're ready to fight. Sensing the overwhelming frustration of his constituents, Uthmeier is finally blowing through these excuses and holding these judges accountable. If they are indeed applying a different standard on criminals because of their race, because they feel that the law is fundamentally unjust, then they themselves are violating the law and must face the appropriate consequences. As it stands, these individuals are single-handedly making their respective communities less safe, and their continued presence is demoralizing the population. Sort of like Judge Sparkle. Judge Sparkle, who is a foreign-born judge who just got here a few weeks ago. What did she do her first few weeks in office? She said Trump cannot deport people. Yeah. Well, she's going to be impeached. Articles of impeachment have been drawn up in Congress, and she's going to be impeached. The point is, Earth Explorers, we should not have to tolerate any of this. Many decades of decay, and I would say indoctrination in our education system, and the proliferation of hollowed-out cities easily prove that more leniency for criminals does not result in safer, more equitable society. It has aggravated division between racial groups and social classes, and has reduced interaction between neighbors and raising collective suspicions. The thing about it is, when we ask for justice as a society, as a community, we ask for justice, and that usually means take this person that has been raping and killing and murdering, and committing larceny and abusing people and accosting people. Take this person, remove them from our community, and put them in jail. Does it make that person better to put them in incarceration? Does it rehabilitate them? No, that's not the point. The point is to remove them from society so that my kids and my friends can go about their business without being molested. Men want their wives to be able to go to Walmart and shop unescorted and walk hundreds of dollars worth of groceries back to the minivan, put them in, and bring them home to feed the family without somebody robbing them, without somebody choking them and raping them in a parking lot. Why do we want that? Because that's what communities do. We've been through the war, we asked for the mercy, and now we have a community, we have a society. We're not carrying arms around everywhere. We're asking for justice. That's why we have police. That's why we have sheriffs. That's why we have judges. That's why we have jails. Because 2% of the society, any society, refuses to obey the law. 2%. That means we have 300 million people in this country. That means about 6 million people should be in jail. And guess what? They are. About 6 million people are in prison in this country. That's about right for our society. And it really should be more, looking at the crime that's being committed. It should be more. Because society wants to be safe. Society wants to be able to not lock their doors, not lock their car, to be able to walk around with a wallet full of money unmolested. We have that right to do because we have law, and we have law enforcement to make sure that justice is administered. But if that justice does not come, if we find a class of people in our country that justice does not apply, they walk through our crowds as embezzlers, as drug dealers, as embezzlers, as liars, as cheats, and they're stealing from people right and left. If they're allowed to walk society in their suits and their manicured hands and their $600 hairdos without justice, we, the people, are going to go to war. That's the cycle. That's what we do. If we don't get justice, we will take it to the next notch, and we will apply warfare to it. We are almost there, and we need and we demand justice. And thank God for people like Uthmeier and Ron DeSantis that are doing this in Florida. I think it's going to have an effect in North Carolina, and I pray that it works forward. All right, let's see here. We talked about that. Oh, the H-1B scammers. The Trump administration started a major investigation into H-1B foreign labor visas. This is a big deal. The Department of Labor Inspector General, his name is Anthony P. D'Esposito, today said the investigation aims to take the most aggressive action against foreign labor fraud by an Inspector General this administration. D'Esposito, who is leading the investigation, stated that the department has already begun issuing dozens of subpoenas. And he's going to get the information because there's lots of records on this, lots. By partnering side by side with the president and vice president's fraud task force, the Inspector General hopes to track down every lead and provide investigators and auditors every resource necessary in order to conduct this investigation for the American people. Because what is happening, there are companies who are laying off 15,000 people, literally laying off 15,000 people, and then going right back and filing for 15,000 H-1B visas to get their people from their country, namely India, to come here and take those jobs. It has been unbelievable. Now, Charlotte used to have a fairly vibrant Indian community. Good Indian investors, Indian property holders, Indian restaurant owners. It's growing, but nothing like Plano, Texas. If you go to Plano, Texas, if you've been to Plano, Texas, I was there in 2018. I worked there for a year. The Indian community was just starting to come in. Now, every block in Plano, Texas is filled with Indian businesses. Every single one of those Indian business owners is an H-1B visa holder. Yeah, every single one. What happened to the Texans that owned those businesses? They were displaced. IT and tech industry is overrun with H-1B visa holders. Well, wait a minute. A shoe store, a hotel, a restaurant, a boutique, that's not tech. No, it isn't. It's the wife of the tech worker. The whole family got to come over, you see. So the wife of the tech guy who's working in the tech industry in Texas opens the business because she got an H-1B visa to come too. Yes. 10,000 visa worker approvals last year went to Amazon. Like, who in the U.S. doesn't want to work at Amazon or has worked at Amazon? We also have 5,000 approvals in 2025 to Meta, to Apple, to Google, right? These are all run by Indians, all run by Indian nationals. The American Immigration Council found a 2021 median H-1B wage of $108,000, while the average American worker made $45,760 a year. And yet, nearly two-thirds of H-1B positions certified by the U.S. Department of Labor are assigned wage levels well below the local median wage for the occupation. So where's the disparity? Why the disparity? Why is this happening? The Conservative Heritage Foundation agreed, noting that only 1 in 6 H-1B positions receives top wages. So why are they making an average of $100,000 a year? That's where the corruption, that's where the fraud is coming in. CEO Xbox, you know who Xbox is. Xbox CEO Asha Sharma, an Indian national, recently fired not 1, not 10, not 15, 20%. 20% of the 3,200 of the company's staff. And yet the parent company, Microsoft, reportedly filed for thousands of H-1B visas this year with an average salary offering of more than $150,000 a year. I guarantee that those 20% that were fired weren't making $150,000 a year. Not at Xbox. A Microsoft spokesperson defended the move to Newsweek, saying, "These decisions are based on business need, not visa status. H-1B employees were also impacted by job eliminations in the U.S." Whatever. Of course, Inspector General D'Esposito is going to shut down the anti-American worker money-making loophole to make sure that the hardworking Americans who want to get work are able to get work. All right, let's. I wanted to talk a little bit about the dumb college students. Gone are the days of university freshmen reading classical philosophers like Plato or contemplating, great philosophy. According to the new Survey of Adult Skills conducted by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, a forum for 38 high-income, predominantly Western countries, not a single significant number of adult students enrolled in higher education are now reading and doing math at the level which, in a more functional society, would be alarming for a middle schooler. Yeah, they have the reading skills of a middle schooler. They cannot spell, they cannot write, and if it wasn't for AI, they wouldn't get a term paper done. The survey first spotted tests around 160,000 people of all ages, not a small database. 38 member states have found that across all OECD member counties, a full 8% of college students are reading at a level of a 10-year-old, if not worse. Countries like Germany, France, they all ring in at under 5%. Countries like Poland, Israel, and the United States blew the curve at 21%, 20%, and 14% respectively. So I still think 21% being able to read better than a 10-year-old is not impressive to me. There's no denying how complex this issue is. There's evidence that removing technology from classrooms altogether could offer an immediate boost. I think institutional education is obsolete. Once the internet got fast in 96, 97, you had all the information in the world at your fingertips. All you had to do was go get it. All you had to do was go get it and learn it, which is what I did. And that's why I became one of the top consultants to the Fortune 100 in the entire world, sought after around the world. Whenever I hung my shingle out, an hour later, I was working. And I made good money, and I'm still making good money. But it comes from learning stuff, people. Be smart. Go learn stuff. Go do great things. This is America Free Radio. I've been your host, Brooks Agnew, for the last 2 hours. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Next Wednesday is going to be the 15th, right? Yes, I'm going to be traveling to Mount Shasta, so we'll probably not have a show that night. We may not have a show that Sunday either. So if you want to see me, come out to Shasta and join the events. We'll see you in about 1.5 weeks right here on America Free Radio. Now go and do great things, Earth Explorers.